Hello, grade 8. This is Mrs. Lopez, and today we are working on lesson 3 of our module 1 Numbers in Exponential Form Raised to the Power. So, before we get to start on this lesson, I just want to review very quickly with you the rules for multiplication of numbers in written in exponential form. So, if I had 5 to the third multiplied by 5 to the fourth, that would be something like 5 multiplied by itself 3 times, multiplied by 5, written by itself 4 times. And that is 5 to the power of 3 plus 4, which is 5 to the 7th. And we can see it because I have 7 of these 5s multiplied by itself, right? For division, we had 5 to the fourth divided by 5 to the third. And if I were to rewrite it, and simplify the pairs that make 1, I will get 5 to the power of 4 minus 3, which is 5 to the first power. Okay. Now, here comes the new rule. What do we do when we get a number that looks like this? 5 to the fourth raised to the third power. This is our lesson today. What do we do when we are raising a number that is used in exponential form to the exponent, to the power? So let's rewrite it in standard form just like we did these two. I have 5 taken by itself, multiplied by itself 4 times. And that number I'm multiplying by itself 3 times. Okay, so right now I have 5 multiplied by itself 4 times, multiplied by itself 3 times. Okay, so basically what that is, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of these 5s multiplied by itself. Okay, now let's take a look at the exponents, and let's take a look at the answer, exponents and the answer. Isn't it a multiplication problem? So when instead of writing this all the way out here, and we will have way bigger exponents than these two, we are going to, all we need to do is to basically multiply the exponents. So if I wrote it in a shorter way, I would have 5 to the fourth raised to the third power is 5 to the power of 4 times 3, and that is 5 to the 12th. Okay, let's take a look at a different example. 2 to the third raised to the 8th power. Again, so if I were to rewrite it, it would look like this. Okay, so I wrote 2 to the third power, which is 2 times 2 times 2, multiplied by itself 8 times. If I were to count all these 2's, I will get 24 of them. Okay, what does that mean is 2 to the third to the 8th is the same thing as 2 to the third multiplied by 8, and that is 2 to the 24th. Okay, so this is how this rule works. Let's take a look at a decimal number maybe. So let's get 1 and 3/10 to the third to the 10th. Okay, I'm not going to write all of these 1.3. Okay, that's too long and it's going to take a while. So I'm just going to shorten it up a little bit. 1.3, 1 and 3/10 times itself 3 times to the 10th power, which is 1.3 to the third multiplied by the 10, and this is 1 and 3/10 to the 30th power. Okay, so it works for every number. It works for a decimal, it looks for an integer, and it will work for a fraction. So basically what that is, this is our general rule. If I take any number and raising it to a power and raising that number to a power, that makes it so that I'm just multiplying powers by themselves equals x to the power mn. Okay, and that is our rule. Don't be confused though, because if I look at the first rule, when we have also a multiplication, right? But here I'm multiplying a number raised to a power by a number raised to a power. In this rule, we are multiplying a number raised to a power to the power. Okay, so this is power raised to the power. Here I'm just multiplying numbers by themselves. Okay, this is a big difference, and this is where many students make mistakes. So please pay extra attention to this. Okay, time to do the exercises. Let's do 1 through 5, skip the number 6, and then we will go from there. Okay, so here are the answers. Exercise 1, have 15 raised to the third to the ninth, so we are multiplying the exponents, and we get 15 to the 27th. Exercise 2, negative 2 to the fifth to the eighth. We are multiplying 5 and 8, and we get negative 2 to the 40th. Exercise 3, 3 and 4 tenths to the 17th to the 4th is, again, we are multiplying the exponents. The answer is 3 and 4 tenths to the 68. And in exercise 4, same thing, but the base is s. So s to the 17th times 4th, and that is s to the 68. Now, exercise 5. Sarah wrote 3 to the 5th to the 7th equals 3 to the 12th. Her mistake is that she added the exponents instead of multiplying them. Okay, so 3 to the 5th to the 7th should be 3 to the 35th. But we are asked to write the exponential equation using the base of 3 and the exponents of 5, 7, and 12. That would make the answer correct. So if it was correct, it would have been 3 to the 5th times 3 to the 7th equals 3 to the 12th. Okay, so these are the exercises 1 through 5. Next, okay, so here's the next part of lesson 3. Let's say I have something that looks like this. 5 times 8 to the 17th. What does that mean? It means I'm taking 5 times 8 and I'm multiplying it by itself 17 times, correct? Since this is all multiplication, I can use my commutative property to rearrange the numbers. And that will look like 5 times itself 17 times times 8 times itself 17 times. Okay, that makes it 5 to the 17th times 8 to the 17th. Okay, so when I have numbers that have different base and they're multiplied by itself or by each other and raised to the power, that means every number is going to be raised to that same power. Okay, so to get the rule out of this, any number multiplied by a different number raised to the same power means that every number inside of that multiplication problem is going to be raised to the same power. Okay, so let's take a look at these exercises. Maybe we will just do a couple of them together here. Um, so 11 times 4 to the ninth will be the same thing as 11 to the ninth multiplied by 4 to the ninth. Exercise 8, I have 3 to the second times 7 to the fourth raised to the fifth power. Because this is a power raised to the power, we will have to multiply the exponents. So you will get 3 to the second times 5 multiplied by 7 to the fourth times 5. Okay, so that will be 3 to the 10th times 7 to the 20th. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Exercise 9, I have 3 to the second, 8 to the fourth, to the fifth power. So that will be 3 to the second times the fifth times 8 to the fourth times the fifth. Okay, again, it will be 3 to the 10th times 8 to the 20th, or 3 to the 10th, 8 to the 20th. Okay, and that happens because if I take 3 to the second, it's 3 times 3, right? And I'm taking it and multiplying it by 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. And I'm taking this whole thing to the power of 5. That means I'll have to repeat that 5 times, right? So I will have 3 times 3 repeated 5 times, which is going to be 10 of them. And a by itself multiplied 4 times is going to be 20 of a's. So to write it simpler way, 3 to the 10th, 8 to the 20th. Number 10, 5x to the 7th is 5. You can even write to the first times the 7th, and then multiplied by x to the first times the 7th. So you will get 5 to the 7th, x to the 7th. Exercise 11, we have 5 to the first times the 7th multiplied by x to the first times the 7th multiplied by y to the second times the 7th. Notice that second power is only applied to the y. 5 and x are not related to that because they're not taken in parentheses together with the y. Okay? Because there is no parenthesis surrounding just this part, only 2 relates only to the y. Okay, so here I will get 5 to the 7th, x to the 7th, y to the 14th. Okay, and then exercise 12, same concept. 2 goes only as exponent to the a, so a to the second times the fourth multiplied by b to the first times the fourth multiplied by c to the third times the fourth. Okay, and we will get a to the 8th, b to the 4th, c to the 12th. Okay, I hope this makes sense, and we will continue doing working on problems like this throughout our next class anyways. Let's take a look at exercise 14 and 15. Exercise 14, 4/5 to the third power. If I were to rewrite it in a standard form, I will get 4/5 times 4/5 times 4/5, correct? That means I have 4 multiplied by itself 3 times and 5 multiplied by itself 3 times. That makes it 4 to the third times over 5 to the third. Okay, so when we have a fraction raised to a power, that means also that every number in that fraction, every part of that fraction is going to be raised to the same power. Okay, if I look at this one, 8 to the 10th, 9 to the 10th, I can also write it backwards, right? So just like we ended up with this number, this is the end result. So I can rewrite it as 8, 9, in parentheses to the power of 10. That makes it, when I open the parentheses, both of these numbers are going to be raised to the 10th power. Okay, that is all for the exercises for lesson 3. Next one is going to be the problem set, so I will talk to you in class.